We've all spent hundreds of hours living a quiet life in perfect, peaceful, cozy towns. Places where the neighbors are kind, the animals are cuddly, and the biggest obstacle you face is figuring out how to get a crush to like you. But what happens when, in this same peaceful town, your neighbors start to vanish into the shadows? When your cows grow tentacles, and your friends look at you like your prey, all while your nightmares bleed into reality. These are exactly the types of games we're talking about today. From nightmarish life sims to straight up brutal murder mysteries, here is my list of 5 upcoming cozy games with a dark twist. Starting with the first game on the list, Neverway. This is an upcoming life sim RPG where you play as a girl named Fiona who has recently quit her dead-end job to start over and live her life on a farm. But along the way, she ends up becoming the herald of a dead god, and it's up to you to keep her new life from falling apart as the nightmare reality of Neverway slowly leaks into the real world. With so much competition in the cozy horror genre, I feel like Neverway really isn't being talked about as much as it should be. The art alone, the first time I saw it, was enough to intrigue me, which is understandable since it's the artist from Celeste working on the game, but on top of that, the details about what they're trying to achieve are what made me really excited about the game's development. First of all, when I say this is a life sim RPG, it is exactly that. In Neverway, you're gonna build your new life from scratch. You'll try to make money through farming, you'll build up and decorate your homestead, and you'll meet or even date a wonderful cast of charming characters. But since this game is all about subverting expectations, on top of being in a new town and meeting unfamiliar people, you'll also have to deal with stuff that we don't usually see in the genre, like bills, having a mortgage, feeding yourself, socializing, and of course, there's also that tiny problem of a leaking nightmare reality. Now, we don't really know much about the Neverway outside of what they've shown in the trailer, which was a bunch of horrors that will surely get in the way of Fiona's peaceful life, but we do know that there's combat in this game. It kinda reminds me of Hyper Light Drifter, where you'll be able to hack and slash various monsters, dash to dodge, and even use abilities. And what's cool is that these abilities are actually tied to your bond with the characters. The more you talk to people and build up your relationship with them, the more you'll unlock various buffs and abilities to use in combat. But what I absolutely love about what Neverway promises is the attention to detail that the developers are putting into the life sim aspect, which I'm actually more excited about than the combat system. For example, on one of the devlogs, the developers recognized that some people may not want to engage as much with the game's combat system and instead want to focus on life skills like farming. So they designed the systems in a way where farming actually makes combat easier because of the crops and recipes that you'll be able to get. And vice versa, if you prefer combat, the loot drops will make the farming easier for you. And depending on how you play, Fiona will react differently in the dialogue. If you neglect farm work, for example, Fiona will be a lot more irritable whenever something in the game reminds her that the field still needs tending. If you're not socializing with your friends, that will reflect on Fiona as well, and she will be more socially avoidant, which is a cool detail that makes the game feel more dynamic. Speaking of Fiona's social life, let's talk romance. As of now, we have 4 of the romanceable characters shown in the trailer, but once the game is complete, we will have a total of over 10 characters that you can try to meet and date, each with their own routine, events, birthdays, and unique storylines. It is also optional, even in regards to the combat's bond system, so whether you want to build your relationships platonically or not is up to your personal preference. Romance in Neverway will not be as simple as dating or not dating. There's also deep friendships, negative relationships, or even situationships. I particularly like the teaser they put out about being able to romance an obviously evil character, which I know appeals to some people, but we'll have to wait and see whether that kind of variety will actually be implemented well in later development updates. Overall, a very exciting game with a lot of good promise. I just really hope that they can deliver. Neverway is expected to release this year, although no exact date has been announced, and it was also confirmed for release on Steam and Nintendo Switch, with talks of potential console releases, although again, we'll have to wait for official announcements. Next up is Dream Hollow, a psychological cozy horror game where you'll play as a child who ran away from home. Eventually, you find yourself trapped in a mysterious forest alongside an adorable cast of storybook creatures who all live in fear of horrifying nightmares lurking within the forest shadows. Now, luckily, in that same forest, you find a quaint little cabin which will serve as your new safe haven. And every morning, you'll push yourself a little further. This game caught my eye particularly because it reminded me of an old game called Fran-Bow. And similar to that game, Dream Hollow is also a point-and-click adventure game. But compared to that, what's interesting to me is that this game has a little bit of a roguelike element mixed in. The gameplay loop is essentially you exploring the forest by day, trying to make progress while your resolve is high, and hopefully you'll meet potential friends who can help you throughout your journey of escaping the forest. Together, you'll gather and manage your resources, solve puzzles, and witness unique story events. However, every time you encounter the horrors of the forest, your resolve will go down, and every time you make a crucial choice, your resolve gets used up. When it reaches 0, your courage will fall, and you will have no choice but to flee to the safety of your cabin. But what would happen then to the friends you left behind with the nightmarish entities in the forest? Will they still be there by morning, or will they have turned into something else? Will you invite them to your cabin for safety, or will you leave them to ensure your own survival? How will you choose to escape the forest? This is the main appeal of Dream Hollow. And while there's not really a lot of information about this game as of me making this video, we only really have a short teaser as well as a Steam page to go off of, the premise as well as the quality of the art really speaks for itself. This is my potential pick for this list, and while I'm excited to see what the devs cook up once development progresses a little bit more, I am trying not to overhype this game before actual gameplay gets released. So for now, it's one of those games that I'm 100% keeping an eye on, but still being cautious about until there's more information. Personally, however, I am very excited about it. Since this game is still early in development, there's no release date yet. However, the Kickstarter page is getting ready for a campaign launch. So if you like an eerie, unsettling storybook-style point-and-click cozy horror game, and you're looking for something to scratch that itch from games like Fran-Bow, Sally Face, or Little Misfortune, then keep an eye out on Dream Hollow. Before we move forward, I'd like to first thank the sponsor of this video, Gamevo.com. If you're looking for a place to get your cozy games, including the ones I typically cover like Graveyard Keeper, which I got from here, at the best prices, then Gamevo is the place to be. They've got a huge selection for all of the major platforms, and to add to that, they've kindly prepared an additional 5% discount for the viewers of the channel. If you head to the link in the pinned comment or the description of this video, it'll take you straight to their website. Pick any game you want, and on the checkout page, make sure to type in code Kaganath to take advantage of the 5% off. In addition, if you want exclusive daily or monthly discounts and VIP access to a 24/7 live chat with their support team, go ahead and sign up for Gamevo Smart. It comes with everything I mentioned, plus pre-order priority and a free customer protection program. All of that for only about $1 a month. They're also verified in Trustpilot, having great reviews, so you'll know that your purchases are protected. So if you want to get your favorite games at discounted prices while supporting the channel, head on over there with a link down below and make sure not to miss out on the 5% discount with code Kaganath. Let's get back to the video. This next one is a little bit unique in terms of the type of horror it decided to take on. In Critterville Goes Bankrupt, you inherit a royal title and are put in charge of a small town called Critterville. However, Critterville is in disrepair. And as its new lord, it is your responsibility to rebuild the town's economy and fill its coffers one way or another. Will you lead with compassion, or will you chase profits? Will you use your connections to curry favors with fellow nobles, quell labor strikes when your workers complain? Or will you try to give the critters a good working environment despite the hit to your own wallet and the judgment of your peers? How you help Critterville thrive is up to you. This is a dark take on the town management RPG formula. Imagine Animal Crossing but ruled by an evil capitalist overlord, which is being played by you. And as someone who has hundreds of hours in city building and town management games, personally I freaking love this. But let's get into the details. There's 3 main things you'll have to balance in Critterville Goes Bankrupt. First is the town's economy. You will be the one to manage the village directly, from finding ways to make money like farming or extracting ores from the mine. You can start a business like a bake shop, hire your closest friends, and fire any worker that dare go on strike. And you can bribe the mayor to pass bills that will either benefit the townsfolk, benefit your wallet, or benefit your friends. Now, if that sounds too evil, then you'll be glad to know that everything here is again up to your choices. You can still be a good lord if you choose to be, and you can even operate in a gray area if you'd like to play both sides. But on top of managing the village economy, as an inheritor of a royal title, you will have to engage with high society. So for example, in your farm, instead of purely profit chasing like you might do in Stardew Valley, you might want to put some care into creating a prestigious garden to impress your fellow nobles and build up your relationships. If you need help from the more powerful, you might want to cozy up and build political alliances. And not only that, but there's romance in this game as well, which is tied to high society management. You'll have 6 suitors available to date, of which 2 have already been revealed. And again, the main appeal of the game is to give you, the player, the ultimate freedom on how you want to handle it. Do you go for a specific noble because they're rich, have connections, and can make your town more profitable? Or do you abandon strategic high society relationships to kindle a secret romance? Lastly, you'll also be able to build and decorate your very own estate. But be careful, as everything that you do in this game will be watched by your people and your neighbors. And the hungrier they get, the more they're likely to resent that new marble fountain you decided was more important than increasing their paycheck. Every decision you make will be judged by those around you. The game will have a domino system where the characters that you meet, including the villagers, will react in unpredictable ways depending on how you choose to run your town. So while the goal is always to rebuild Critterville, how you do it and what your story will be at the end of every playthrough will be different depending on your choices. Since this game is still in very early development, there's no dates yet as of when this will be released. The developers have confirmed though that a demo is on its way, and while we wait, short comics are available to be read on the game's website, which is honestly hilarious if not a little bit depressing, which tells you all about what kind of humor this game has. If they can deliver on even half of the features they promise, this would honestly be such a gem and a breath of fresh air in the genre. But we'll have to wait and see if the gameplay will actually live up to that expectation. The next entry on the list is something that I've actually been looking forward to playing for the longest time, so I'll keep this section a little shorter just in case I make a dedicated video about it in the near future. The world of Grimshire is beset by a mysterious plague, and you've barely escaped the chaos that consumed your hometown. With a little bit of luck, you survived, and were welcomed into the cozy remote town of Grimshire. But here's the problem. The plague is coming, and you must help your new community survive the onslaught by making sure that the root cellar is stocked for both the carnivores and herbivores, because if the food runs out, the townspeople will turn on each other. This is a very unique take on the cozy farming genre, because in this game, failure to provide food has dire consequences for the villagers you care about. The townspeople in Grimshire can die, and they cannot be brought back. As for the gameplay, your main loop will be all about farming for crops, foraging, raising animals for meat, fishing, as well as gathering materials to make your job sustainable. And you'll also have to balance the food you produce, as the townspeople have varying dietary needs which need to be met and prepared for, especially in winter. One of your main ways of progression will be learning about different ways to preserve the food. You'll also be helping out with various community projects by donating specimens and resources, all to make sure the town survives. That doesn't mean that this game is all about stressing you out though. This is a cozy game through and through. You can befriend villagers, romance characters from different species, and build a new life for yourself by settling down in marriage, having kids, and experiencing the story throughout the changing seasons. But don't get too attached to everybody, as again, permadeath is a thing if you fail to do your duties. This game already has a free demo available if you want to check it out, and it's also in early access, which contains the content for the first year of the storyline. According to the devs, there's roughly 40 to 50 hours worth of content to play through in the early access version, which is quite a lot, but features like the romance and starting a family bit is still in development. This is coming out this year on Steam with a tentative release date, and console ports are expected to come out after the full release version sometime in 2027. Before we talk about the last game on the list, I want to take some time to talk about a couple of honorable mentions that I'm still incredibly excited about, but just didn't have time to cover in this video. One of them is Crimson Hollow. I have been following the devlog for this game for years now, and what it is essentially about is that in this cozy crafting RPG, you discover a hidden magical town protected by a crimson moon. The magic of the moon affects everything in Crimson Hollow, from the people to the fauna to the more mysterious happenings that we've yet to uncover. In this game, you'll collect a wide variety of reagents to craft potions, use magic, get into blacksmithing, and even fishing and herbalism. You'll meet the town's inhabitants and build relationships with them, all while you try to earn a living as a sort of witch alchemist. It really reminds me of a more mature, melancholic Little Witch in the Woods, with a vibe that's just a little darker, although not quite horror as compared to most of the games from this list. What sets Crimson Hollow apart is a deeper focus on the roleplay aspect, which I think might be one of the biggest edges of this game if done right. As of now, we can see on the devlogs how you can choose a backstory for your character, customize them, and decorate your home to match your aesthetic. The only thing is that the development for Crimson Hollow is on the slower side, as the art, which is absolutely beautiful, is hand-drawn, and the game itself is being worked on by a solo developer. So while I'm excited to play this game, and I like what they've shown so far on their YouTube channel, Crimson Hollow probably won't be ready anytime soon. The other honorable mention is Welcome to Elderfield, and oh boy, I am absolutely in love with this game. If you've ever thought about what would happen if you combine your typical cozy game with the horrors of being under the watch of eldritch gods, what you get is Welcome to Elderfield. It has all the usual features of a typical cozy farming game, but on top of that, there's a turn-based combat system, there's a lot of mysteries to uncover, a very satisfying balance between farming and exploration, and the whole experience of playing it can only be described as disturbing. I recently made a video about how I spent 15 hours playing through the game's demo, so if this one catches your eye, I recommend watching that video, which I've linked in the top right corner after this one. Don't worry, there's no spoilers, it's just a demo review, but it contains everything you need to know about why Welcome to Elderfield, in my opinion, is the next big cozy horror game to watch out for. Last but not the least is Grave Seasons. This is perhaps the most popular upcoming game on this list, and it's also one that I'm very excited about, as it is the game that inspired this video in the first place. But for those of you who are not in the know, here's what this murder mystery farming RPG is all about. You are a recently escaped convict, and you've made your way to the isolated town of Ashenridge in the hopes of laying low. Here, you take over an old farm, you'll till the land, meet the villagers, and do your best in order to blend in. However, from the moment you step foot in this idyllic town, you realize that things aren't what they seem. Most of the townspeople seem to be hiding something. Weird supernatural things occur on the daily, and worryingly, a series of murders has started to spread. Ashenridge villagers have gone missing. Limbs, blood, and corpses start to turn up in the most random places, and rumors say a supernatural serial killer is on the loose. As the newcomer, you become wrapped in this unexpected mystery, and you'll use your unconventional skills in order to investigate and try to find out who the killer is. Now, in terms of actual gameplay, here's how the developers describe it. Unlike the Infinite Seasons of Stardew Valley, Grave Seasons has a strict time limit. The entire story unfolds over just 1 year. Every time you start a new game and create a character, a killer is randomly selected from the cast, and each season, they'll target a specific victim. Clues are drip-fed throughout the month, but your daily routine stays mostly normal. You'll grow crops, mine, and fish to make a living, but you're doing it all with a second purpose. While you're in town selling produce or socializing, you're also investigating. You're profiling your neighbors, hunting for motives, and even snooping through their homes. Essentially, you're living a double life. A good neighbor by day, and an investigator trying to unravel Ashenridge's mystery by night. Your job is to figure out who the killer is, while also trying to predict who the next victim will be. Now, while all of that sounds great, the beauty of what Grave Seasons is trying to do is in how the player's choices will affect the town and its story as a whole over the course of the year. For example, of course, you can save the victim. By using the food and resources that you produce through your farm, you can craft occultic protections and save them from their gruesome fate. But you have the choice not to. Maybe you don't like someone and you don't want to use up your precious resources in case in the next month, it's the person you're romancing that gets targeted. Maybe seeing the killer in action is the key to figuring out who they are, and the victim is a necessary sacrifice. But again, every choice comes with consequences. These characters don't live in a bubble. They have people they have relationships with, friends and families who care about them and who will be massively affected by their loss. There are daily and weekly activities that will noticeably get gloomier, and like in Stardew, there will also be seasonal events of which the effects of losing members of the community will be greatly noticeable. Now, for the big question I know a lot of you are curious about, can you romance the killer? According to the devs, yes. And in their own words, you can either try to fix them, or even better, make them worse. Unfortunately, like most games in this list, there's not an exact date for the game's release yet, but it is expected to come out this year on Steam, Switch, and consoles. So, did you find anything to keep an eye on? Comment down below which ones you're most excited about. A big shout out to Villain in Glasses of our Paladin Regalia tier. Thank you very much for your longtime support, and thank you as well to all of our regular patrons and YouTube members. If you'd like to support the channel, please feel free to join either of those for exclusive content, shoutouts at the end of the video, and early access to the upcoming ones I make. Otherwise, a simple like and subscribe are more than enough to help. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.